Hello everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Hardfire TV on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable, courtesy of the Brick Arts Media House in downtown Brooklyn. My name is Cameron Weber. I'll be your host today. With me I've got Cynthia Lamb. Hello.
Hi.
Cynthia, welcome to the show. Here we are at Cynthia's Bakery, the Moonrise Bakehouse.
Yes.
What's the address?
906 40th Street, Brooklyn.
Right here.
Right by the D train.
Right by the D train, yes. In Sunset Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, so today we'll be talking to Cynthia, who's been in business here for how long?
Right before Thanksgiving, I opened the doors. A month and a half?
A month and a half, a couple months. So Cynthia is the proprietor of this new startup business, right? For a couple months since Thanksgiving. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you about entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Right. So the show is Libertarian Issues in Focus, and one of the things that libertarians are interested in is about self-determination. And entrepreneurship is a way to have control over your life, to work for yourself. You have to put in a lot of hours and take some risk, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I read something in The Economist a long time ago that those who live in democracies, I didn't make this up.
Okay.
So, those that live in democracies are happier than those that don't. Those that vote are happier than those that don't. Those that work are happier than those that don't. And those that work for themselves are happier than those that don't. So we're looking forward to talking with you, Cynthia, about entrepreneurship, to help share with our viewers some of the trials and tribulations or successes that you've had in putting together your business. Right, without any risk, there's no return. So
Absolutely.
Right. So you're great. So I guess my first question is, what made you decide to take the risk by opening the shop?
I feel like I was compelled beyond even just do I take the risk or not. I had to do it. I can't even quite explain it. I knew I had to do it. I thought about it for a long time.
Yeah, you've been making bread for quite some time,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's my nature, so I definitely had to take that leap.
So you've been entrepreneur oriented ever since I've known you.
Yes,
Right?
I worked for myself.
Work for yourself. You're also a musician and do different promote your music, right? And I know we also you put together we live together in the same co-op.
Yes.
We've got about 70 apartments in the co-op, 4 buildings just up the street from here, about a 5-minute, 10-minute walk. And we went with solar panels on the roof, and you designed the billing system.
Yes, I've spent many years in technology. Working for myself, doing
like a systems analyst, technology projects, helping people with business solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've had this kind of entrepreneurship ideas, and now you decided just to take a plunge.
With a very different type of work.
Something that's with a big investment.
Yes.
Big Sunset Park. We always
Edge of Borough Park, Sunset Park.
Edge of Borough Park, Sunset.
But actually, it's Moonrise on the edge of Sunset.
And it's really there's a new taco place next door.
Yeah.
We've kind of leapfrogged the Starbucks phase, right? We've gone almost to now. You've got a gourmet.
Well, it's kind of the way
kitchen.
New York always was. Mom and pop shops. And I mean, my kitchen, I don't know if I would call it gourmet. I don't quite know, It's filled with the equipment that I need to make it work. I have some, like my oven here is a used oven. I have some used equipment, some new equipment, but
we'll talk about
a good functional.
Yes.
And simple.
Right. Without your entrepreneurial experience, your systems analysis experience, even though you have a passion for your product, your craft, do you think you would have taken the entrepreneurial plunge? Again, we're trying to help other entrepreneurs who might be considering opening a business. Do you think the experience you had is necessary
Well,
for
I think
others wanting to open their own business?
I mean, I can't say that it hasn't helped a lot because I've kind of jumped the risk hurdle a while ago, and I've lived through the highs and lows of finances, and I survived, and so like that doesn't scare me as much as it might if I had never done it. But I think that even if you didn't have this kind of experience, if you do your research and your homework and you find people who can, you know, even if they're sort of your guiding you, maybe they're not like directly involved, but if you can find people to talk to, I think absolutely.
Process,
But here's one thing I just want to say is once you've realized that you can make it through the hurdle of being broke, for example, and then going back up.
Well, not only that, but dedicated many hours.
Yes.
I know you used to like to go to Mexico City. I know you used to like to go to New Orleans.
Yes. Sometimes with my computer. Sometimes I had to. Like I had to work on the road.
Right. Yeah. Work on the road. Probably perform as a musician on the road.
Yes, I did that too.
And now you're having to give all of that up.
It's true.
And dedicate your life to this new project.
That was a big decision.
Right.
But I am so excited, and I love my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I love being part of it.
Yeah, right. So what is the brand, experience, expertise, craft, value you are bringing to your customers, to our neighborhood? What do you offer that is your own unique value, and what does the brand Moonrise refer to? Okay,
so I've always been baking something for my entire life, really. You know, as a hobby, whatever. I started baking bread with sourdough starters, and then I found fresh grain that was available, and I started grinding grain. And slowly, at home in my home, little tiny Brooklyn apartment kitchen, and I started giving it away to neighbors. And then finally the neighbors said, "We don't want you to give it away. We want you to sell it to us because we don't want to wait."
So you had people.
And that was like, wow.
Oh, so you, as Pete Townsend said, you had the assignment. You had the what's that called? A commission. You had the commission. You had a customer base.
So the product is primarily, first and foremost, sourdough breads made really naturally, old-fashioned.
All by hand, right?
By hand. Most of it using sourdough starter. Even breads that don't taste like sourdough use what's called natural levain. So there was that, and then I was selling through our local CSA, which is a community-supported agriculture.
Okay.
Like a vegetable co-op in a way.
So you've had confidence in selling your product
for 3 years.
Okay, and so this step is a big step because of the investment. You've moved it out of the kitchen into a retail situation. Right.
Yes.
And so here's a question for you. What made you decide to locate here in Sunset Park in the neighborhood? For example, New York City and New York are notoriously difficult to do business in compared to the rest of the country. For people who track these things, like the Fraser Institute looking at ease of doing business and regulatory requirements and things like that. And New York City is awful difficult, but like you said, it's because of the neighborhood. And
well, I've never started a business anywhere else, so I can't speak to what it's like.
We actually did a Hardfire show on this called "Why People Are Leaving New York City," and it mostly has to do with the taxes and regulation.
But I just wanted to say that I specifically stayed within 3 blocks of where I live. I mean, I would have gone 10 blocks, but it was very important to me, not only for my own sense of sanity for commuting, but also I wanted to be part of my own community and not travel to another neighborhood that might have even been more lucrative for my offering.
More wealthy as opposed to low to moderate income like our neighborhood has been.
And that also helped me decide to set my prices so that I want my bread to be within reach.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want it to be.
Which is a follow-on question. Is so where we live in Sunset Park, down the hill is what's it called? Industry City.
Yes.
And Industry City attracts a lot of young urban professionals, upscale people, upscale businesses, and they offer subsidies to locate there. I was wondering why you, even though I guess that would be within your 3 or 4 block range, the Industry City, but you decided to go not to go there.
Well, in all
because this
honesty,
would be perfect. I mean, perfect for there.
In all honesty, I did reach out to Industry City really early on. I've been looking for a space for about 3 years, and they actually had nothing for me.
Their spaces were too big or too expensive, or
every time I called, they said well, because at the time I didn't.
Well, they're not very. It's owned by the city, so it's not real entrepreneurial. I think. I don't know.
No, I don't think it's that. Well, my food isn't really takeout to eat at a picnic table, and that's the food booths are kind of like that.
Okay.
And then I was looking for maybe a place to bake the bread and then deliver it.
So it wasn't food courty enough.
They didn't have any upstairs rooms for me, you know, where they could devote to food. But I have to say that I actually didn't really want Industry City to be my home either, because a lot of people who go to Industry City are not necessarily from Sunset Park.
No, they're not. No.
Yeah, so I wanted
the people that clean the buildings are from Sunset Park.
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I've been reading, you know, who gets jobs there, but I don't really know. I can't speak.
Yeah, you can't know everything.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
I tried.
So all right. So you've been open for a month or two. How is it going? And at what point will you feel that you are successful?
Okay, so right away when I opened, through no work from my part, I was very fortunate to have these different email lists that neighbors are on, spread the word, and that was amazing.
Yeah. Every time I come here, there's many people, and people, I run into people say, "Have you heard about Cynthia's shop?" And they said, "Oh, really? I got a bag right here from the shop."
Word of mouth is probably the best way to advertise because it's strong. It's really strong.
Film and also is well known. That
but I mean, like if people really love it and they tell someone else, that's like a recommendation that. When will I feel successful?
So wait, word of mouth.
Yes.
So you had word of mouth even before you did social media. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I did.
Yeah. So you've got moonrisebakehouse.com website.
It's very minimal right now.
And how long has that been up and running?
What day did I open? It was like maybe 2 days before I opened.
2 days before.
But I had started my Instagram page.
Right. Yeah.
About a year before that, because I was selling through the CSA and doing a couple private events.
Right.
So
you were doing private events as well.
A couple private events.
I can see that.
Instagram has been kind of incredible for driving business here. I have to say, like, that surprised me. I didn't know.
So you get a lot of unfamiliar faces,
who follow
friends
Instagram.
Friends, but,
exactly.
Okay.
And then when I post a picture of what I have made, they come to the shop to buy it, like within 10 minutes sometimes. Okay,
so great. So that's a good starting point. Again, welcome to the show, and now we're just going to informally ask you questions about the shop and the product and who you are and that type of thing. Okay? Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you for watching this. Like Cindy Brady did in the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. So there must be a lot of licenses, inspections, permits, taxes, insurance, and other paperwork involved in opening your own business. What was the hardest part in getting your business open regarding regulations?
Well, I don't know if I would say it was hard. It was just a lot, and I had to make sure that I read through, you know, many different things, and then I asked a lot of questions.
Did you have city officials that you could ask stuff of,
Yes.
like the inspectors who would inspect it?
Well, there's an organization within the city that I found at the on the last page of a PDF file about opening a food business, and it's called the New York City Small Business, SBS, Small Business, what do you- Service, yeah. They were amazing. And they
And that was a
availed
city
themselves,
agency?
and it was free, and they availed themselves to
Oh,
me.
okay.
And they came over and they went through the place, and I said, this is how I'm planning to set it up. Do you think I'll have any problems? And the gentleman who came over happened to, he used to work for the city health department, so he knew what to look for. And
remember, the camera is your friend.
Okay.
We're helping, part of the goal here is to share your insights and expertise with others who might want to help. Yeah.
So that helped a lot.
So the city was helpful. Huh?
They were helpful, and they also have these very nicely done website PDF files. You can go through the website and you can say, I want to start a business in New York. And then you say, what kind of business is it? And you fill out about a 10-page, internet pages form, and it keeps leading you to, and then it gives you a checklist of everything you need to do. You know?
What's this called again?
Well, that particular one, you go to nyc.gov, and I can find the exact URL and put it at the end of this. But it's
we'll put the
resources.
URL resources in the credits.
I found out another couple of things along the way. If you're looking at a storefront, you definitely want to make sure that the certificate of occupancy for the building allows a storefront. What kind of use is it?
So how many different storefronts did you look at?
Every single one that had a sign on it for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Yes.
And you finally found this one.
Yes.
And what is this space? Tell us a little bit
It used to
about
be a
this space.
photography studio. Before that, it was a cobbler.
And you usually have the aesthetic. You like the aesthetic here? You like the space, the lines, the functionality?
I love it. It's small, and it was one of my key criteria. Because New York City real estate is horrifically expensive. I had to find a place that wasn't going to be so daunting in terms of paying rent.
Right, getting up every day.
That I would have to take a second job to pay the rent for my dream. Like
So you found something.
I found something that was affordable.
For 3 years.
After 3 years, it's not easy, but don't give up. I called every single place. I said, can you just carve out 500 square feet for me? And they'd say, no, we only rent 2,000 square feet. I had a lot of.
So this was already 500 square feet?
No, this is 225 square feet.
Beautiful, and you don't need any more.
No! I mean, this was like my little dream spot, and another neighbor who ran a cafe said, what about that place over on 40th Street? And I said, I haven't seen that one, so I ran up here and I knew instantly, this is going to be the one.
Because you're right, it's right around the corner from the subway.
It's
right around the corner from the only existing pizza place that hasn't been priced out of it.
Yeah.
There's a new taco place next door. And then there's also another restaurant, Parlay Cafe, a few blocks away from here. So this is kind of an
Parlay,
exciting.
and then there's Sunset Botanical, and he's doing some cool things.
So you basically got lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Lucky, perseverance, and luck. Yes.
Yeah. And so what was your biggest investment here?
The biggest investment was the infrastructure. It was the plumbing and the electricity. I had to upgrade the electricity to get what's called three-phase electricity to run the oven.
And did you have, how'd you get an electrician? How'd you get a plumber? Is that difficult?
I ended up using the electrician that was the building electrician. So he had worked with the landlord for many years, and he was working with Con Ed already to do a building-wide upgrade. So that just seemed like the least line of resistance. So I worked with him, and then I called several plumbers to get a few different bids. One thing I found out along the way is a lot of people, when they think, oh, restaurant, it's going to be $500,000 or something. It's not $500,000. It could be.
You said you bought a used stove, for example.
Yep, this is used. Oven, yes, this is the oven.
Definitely. And did you get another Another oven?
I have a second oven here. I'm actually going to be selling this one and buying a second one exactly like this, and then they'll be stacked.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Cynthia, so what is the music we're listening to in your shop? And what is your aesthetic approach? Did you design and remodel the space?
So,
And what are you working on there?
okay, first question, the music. I am streaming wwoz.org out of New Orleans,
Yeah.
one of my 2 favorite radio stations, and the other one is WKCR, actually there's 3, WBGO as well. Those are both New York, but wwoz.org,
Yeah.
so you can get it here, it's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
And your son lives in New Orleans, right?
Both my sons live in New Orleans. They've both been professional musicians there. JP and I have gone down to New Orleans and played music
Yeah.
with them.
Well, that's the first time I had your bread, Cynthia, is when your son borrowed my drum set, which has
That's
been
right.
in storage forever.
He said he wants to buy it.
I
Whoever
know, I
decided
know.
to sell.
And he renovated the drums, and then you guys played in rehearsed in our basement. It was
Yeah.
great. And then you brought me a piece of a loaf of bread, and thank you for the drums. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And you also recommended me for the board of directors at the
I did.
co-op. So you helped me do my duty. That was good.
So-
So you have a minimal approach. You don't
Well-
have any signs or pictures on the wall.
I will soon have, or someday I'll have additional things on the walls.
Yeah.
So I decided to start out with just the most basic white because I didn't quite know what it was. Like I was thinking more about the bread than, oh, what do I want the space to look like? So I decided I love wood. Stainless steel is obvious in a commercial kitchen, and so we've got wood and stainless steel, and it just, it feels really good and
It does.
nice and
Very
clean.
airy.
Airy.
And who designed the logo? How'd you get the logo?
So the logo I had sketched out, and then I hired one of my son's friends, a friend of mine too, Leroy Burnett, to draw the leaves and stuff, and then I did the typesetting. I found a font from a small independent type house.
So you designed it. Yeah. It was a collaboration.
Thanks,
Yeah.
collaboration.
Yeah, we have a shot at night that will
Oh,
edit
good.
in that'll show the beauty of that.
But there'll be more things on the walls eventually, but I didn't know what I wanted until I was in here to see what I needed. And instead of like packing it all up and then saying, oh, I should have done it differently, I decided.
Yes, starting out slow, focusing on the product.
Exactly.
Great.
And what am I doing here? So this
Yeah,
is
what are you
country
doing?
sourdough. Right now I'm doing what's called scaling. So I'm cutting off about 640 grams of dough that I will then shape into what's called boules. And those will be round loaves of bread that are a little bit of wheat, a little bit of rye, both freshly ground, bread flour, natural sourdough starter, and salt and water.
Excellent. Thank you. Now let's take a look at your shelf over there. Stop.
Okay, so because it's Wednesday, this is off camera, Wednesdays are like the day I come back, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm always behind on Wednesdays.
So
but-
put it on camera. Okay. So we just have a couple minutes left. Cynthia, why don't you tell us about your displays here?
So again, I was looking for things that would be affordable for a display wise. So I found things on Craigslist. I got free boxes from a wine store, and
Can't
this
go
is
wrong with. Oh,
right.
and I can say that the bread goes really well with wine.
Yeah.
And instead of a food court thing, I mean, I have to admit, I would get a small piece of your bread and have it as a meal.
That's true, yeah. So, I have different kinds of breads. Wednesdays are my first day back after 2 days off, so everything's a little bit slower getting started, but by the weekend, Friday nights and weekends is great. A lot of good
We got
variety.
kicked out. We tried to do the show earlier, but we got kicked out because it was your busy time.
Right,
Yeah.
and then these racks are more full, but I have a nice assortment of styles of bread.
And you're always experimenting with new. So this is
I am.
sesame
semolina, yep.
and this is light rye sourdough with Kalamata olives.
Yes.
Wow.
And these are just a variety. So we've got like a sweet potato sourdough, a country sourdough, wheat bread with sesame seeds, an
Yeah.
onion.
So thank you, Cynthia. So
One other thing
yeah.
that I should mention is, in addition to breads, I realized I had to have things at different price points
Right.
as well.
Right.
So I have, and this is very small display right now too, but I have cookies and cakes, coffee cakes, things like that. Oh, bread pudding.
Bread pudding.
JP makes the bread pudding.
JP makes bread pudding.
Yeah, and so there's other things besides just bread. And that will
your
continue to
friends
expand.
make these, right?
Yes, my
Yeah.
friend, she's been making these from wood that is from her property or
In Costa Rica
found
or
wood.
what?
No, actually, Pennsylvania.
Ah, sweet.
Some of the eucalyptus is from her friend in California, and so she's been selling them here in my shop.
Oh, great.
So
All right. So
Tico wood.
okay, great. So any final words for budding entrepreneurs in New York City that you'd like? Any final words?
Don't give up. First of all, you can get through the hurdles, and I have to say they make it very nice now to give you a list of what it is you need to do. So there's no surprises of you should have done this over here, because it's actually listed on this website that we're going to give you.
Yeah.
But don't give up, because it is joy. Everyone says to me, "But are you still having fun?" And I said, "I am so happy."
Yeah.
Sometimes I work 14, 16 hours. It won't always be that way.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it's okay, you know?
Okay,
Just
great.
do it.
So thank you for watching Hardfire TV on Brooklyn Free Speech Media. Thank you, Cynthia Lamb,
Yeah.
proprietor of Moonrise Bakehouse here in Sunset Park.
Thanks, Cameron.
Bordering
Borough Park.
Borough
Yep.
Park. A few
Right
blocks
by the-
from the 9th Avenue subway.
D train.
And we'll see you next time on Hardfire.
Thanks.
Okay, so this is the display. What were you saying about the bread pudding?
The story about the bread pudding is that her neighbors at the taqueria asked her if she was going to do rostes de reyes, the king cakes.
Yeah, exactly.
So she did a few. She put the little plastic babies in them and everything, and the neighbors bought them. But she got overexcited about it and made
Too many.
too many of them. And I'm like, okay, this is an orange guava sweet bread,
Yeah.
and it's going stale here. This thing would make God's own bread pudding,
Oh.
and that's where the bread pudding came from.
Oh, nice.